Welcome to Can I Park Here? Brought to you by FindAFashionTruck.com. Nashay and Estrell's mission is to inspire future and existing small business owners. They don't claim to be experts. They're simply trying to figure this all out, just like you.
Hi, today we have Lakaye from Lakaye Photography. Actually, Lakaye and I have been friends for years. We first met at the University of Baltimore while getting our masters together. Years later, I introduced her to Estrell, and we've all been friends ever since. She's taking actually my photos from my wedding. Just last year, she took pictures of Estrell and I for our business. We really love her, rely on her, and respect her. She's currently based out of Hampton Roads in Virginia. And she is a self-taught photographer who's owned her business for several years now. She does things like weddings and graduations, portraits, and she also has her own magazine, Reset Your Crown, which is amazing. We'll include a link to the magazine in our show notes. She, in this episode, gives us photography tips. She shares all kind of little gems and things that will help your brand really stand out in the crowd on places like Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and even Twitter, because Twitter, you should be putting out photos also. But even before she gets into that, she tells us a little bit about her journey, her love for photography, her own struggles and how she's overcome them, and so much more. So we really think you're going to enjoy this episode, and let's just get right into it. We hope you love it. Here we go. Here today we have Lakaye from Lakaye Photography. Welcome, Lakaye.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you.
We've all been actually good friends for a really long time, so we're really excited to have Lakaye on this show because she's an awesome photographer, and we think you'll learn a lot from her just having a small business, but also photography tricks that will help either your mobile boutique or your brick and mortar boutique.
All right. So, Lakaye, can you tell us the story behind your brand or your business? How did you get started?
It's pretty interesting. I've done just about every type of photography imaginable. I started when I was in college, and my best friend found an old film camera just on the grounds at the school, and I started taking pictures. And my first set of pictures were phenomenal. So I was like, yes, I'm going to be a photographer. And then I couldn't figure out how to replicate any of the pictures again. So my whole career has been chasing this dream of getting awesome pictures that I've seen in magazines. So after college, my first job was to take pictures at the Walmart and Kmart portrait studios that are now out of business. But it was my job to upsell people to the $99 and the $200 packages.
Oh.
You're never supposed to go.
How do you go from $2 to $2?
Right.
Because my job was to make the pictures look so good that they couldn't say no.
Okay.
So, I got very good at posing really quickly. I got good at working in a very small space. It wasn't a technical job, but what I learned there was people skills. Mm. So, I had to do everything from senior pictures, newborn pictures. So that really kind of cemented my desire to take portraits. So let's see. After that, I moved to Baltimore and I started working some, in between jobs. But then I started working part-time at Life Touch Photography. And I don't know if Life Touch is big in the Midwest, but on the East Coast it's a huge, they do everything, prom pictures, all the pictures that have to do with any high schools, whether it's basketball games or plays or anything that has to go in the yearbook. That's what Life Touch does.
Yeah, I forgot the name of our photography folks for our high school.
It could have been, what did Life, it used to be Siegel Majestic. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But so then I started doing prom photography, and then I eventually started working there full time. So I learned how to do children's sports photography, dances, proms, plays. It was one of the worst jobs I've ever had, but it was one of the best jobs I ever had too, because I learned how to do everything in photography, basketball, track. It didn't matter what it was, because you had to know how to light and photograph everything. The only reason I say it was bad is because they tried to work me to death. It was like I worked like 60 hours a week.
And they probably didn't really pay you anything either.
No, they paid okay for a 20-something-year-old, but you had absolutely no life. For example, I would shoot a prom on a Friday night, every Friday night, from, let's say it was 8 to 12. And then I would have to get up and go shoot Little League pictures at 8 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, it was the best and the worst.
But I think...
So are you... Oh, go ahead, Nashay.
I was just going to say, I think the awesome thing about that, though, is you got to learn how to interact with people. Mm-hmm. You know, that really builds like people skills, figuring out how to talk to them. You know, it forces you to be social, no matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. And those skills can apply to almost anything.
Right. And Lakaye, are you a self-taught photographer, or did you go to school for that?
I took one class in college. I just took a black and white darkroom class, which I absolutely loved, but I never pursued it beyond that. I take that back. I did take another class at Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. Micah. Mm-hmm.
But it was just another basic film class. Because back in my day, you know, it was only film when I started. There was no digital.
Hey, don't date us.
You say, speak for yourself.
But that's awesome, though, that you, without any official schooling, like you have become like an awesome photographer.
Oh, thanks. Because I'm mildly obsessed with it. I am. I mean, you know, I would rather... Okay, I have a magazine addiction, too, and that's part of my other problem, but I don't read any articles. I just look at the pictures.
But that's how you get, inspiration and ideas. And I think it's awesome that you learned in a dark room, too, because I remember back in college taking a photography class, and I thought that was, so much fun. That was kind of like the break from the boring history and everything else, even though my pictures sometimes came out a little muddy, but it was still fun.
Wait, you remember the disposable cameras? Those were
the worst.
Ish
back in the day.
But everybody had it. It's like, even when you were going on vacation, you would get the Kodak or whatever disposable, and had to open that little bag that it was in, and it had those little weird cartridges.
And then when we got back from vacation, we had to wait a week to get our photos back. Hey, you gotta go pick up my pictures.
I know, and it's so funny, that to think that there's a generation that will never really know the dark room or kind of having to wait for a photo. Everything is instant right now.
Right. So I'm teaching right now too. I teach at a community college. I teach photography, and I run into that all the time. And the biggest thing with this generation is, and I'm actually afraid for them, they're not going to have any pictures printed out. They don't print anything. Because when you took your little film to the photomat or whatever, you always got doubles, right? One for you, one for your friend.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't print anything, so everything lives online. And, you see the picture once and it just moves on. So what's going to happen in 10 years when they want to see that picture again? They've already switched iPhones or upgraded their, their material.
That's a dying business.
But, I don't think it's totally dying, because actually I was talking to someone the other day, and they used one of those services. You know how they have the apps now where you can pay $2.99 a month for all your Instagram photos to be printed and sent to you in book form.
What?
So that's
automatically?
Huge right now. Automatically.
Okay.
Automatically.
You're going to have to tell the people what that link is, because I need that in my life.
Definitely. I'll make sure to look it up and include it in the show notes. But yeah, and I think that's the new way of having an album or a scrapbook. So people are finding innovative ways to still keep those printed pictures, which I think is great. But so, okay, so you kind of like were self-taught, but you got into weddings also, right?
Yes. Weddings. I was kind of, well, I worked with a wedding photographer. I interned with him when I first moved to Baltimore. I completely forgot about that. He was an awesome photographer. And then the first wedding I photographed was my cousin's wedding by myself. And that was okay. But I really started doing weddings a lot in 2008 when I got laid off from my full-time job. So that's, if you want to know how I really got into photography full-time, that was it. I was forced to do something. I could either go and find another corporate job, or I could sit and be still and try to think of what was really going to make me happy and try to build it up from there. So I started getting really into wedding photography, which was very rewarding. And I think I got really good at it. And part of that is because of my training with Life Touch, because no wedding is the same, and no wedding goes according to plan at all. So yeah.
Oh, neat. So what's some of your tactics like for collaborating or networking with like local businesses and entrepreneurs? So, it's clear you've dabbled in several different industries in photography. So how do you like stay connected to folks to keep business coming in?
Let me get back to weddings really quickly. I've kind of I'm starting to phase out the wedding part of my business. And I'm leaning more towards portraiture, which I can get done quickly. It has a good turnaround. I can interact with people a little bit better. Weddings are very rushed, and they are for adrenaline junkies. And I just can't handle it anymore.
It's high stress because weddings are something like, if anything goes wrong, if the files are missing, like it's like devastating. And then you have like some people that are really high maintenance when it comes to like their weddings too. So to me, that is a extremely high stress job.
It is, and it doesn't end. This is the misconception about weddings. If there's any photographers listening, this is the misconception. Your job is not over the day of the wedding. When you get home at 2:00 in the morning and kick off your wedding shoes, your job is just beginning, because then there's editing the pictures, there's doing the album, and you still have to interact with the client maybe up to a year after the wedding. And that part can still be stressful too. So some people, it works well. It pays really good money if you do a really good job. You have to be an excellent photographer to be a wedding photographer. Well, you should be, because you're playing with people's lives. So
yeah.
So to get back to your question, right now what I'm doing, because I'm building up my portrait business, is, and specifically headshots, is I'm looking for win-win situations with other businesses. Something that's going to benefit them, it's going to benefit me, and it's going to benefit the client. So I guess that's win-win-win. So if I can find strategic partnerships where my services will be a benefit to their business, then I found that that's the best way to make connections with other business owners.
I know we previously talked about the possibility of you contacting fashion truck owners for opportunities to photograph their trucks for them. Is that something you still, are considering doing?
I would love to photograph fashion trucks. And Estrella might know that another one of my minor obsessions is design. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'd like to look at it. But if I love to see how people put stuff together. Like, the whole fashion truck industry is just so amazing. It's so amazing, because I feel like people are taking control of their lives, and not just, it could be intimidating to start off with a brick and mortar location. But if they can do something that they love and make it look beautiful, I'm all for that. So I would love to collaborate with fashion truck owners and take pictures and help them market themselves, because, like I said, it's a win-win.
Yeah, and I feel like It's really key because sometimes as we're looking for photos to go onto our blog or just, for startafashiontruck.com or for just the main site, findafashiontruck.com, sometimes it's really hard to find like quality photos. So we can't stress enough how important it is to have like good shots of your truck, like front angle, side angle, different shots of the inside of the truck. And, we definitely recommend getting like a professional photographer to do it if you don't have photography skills, because then those photos can last forever. You can send them out when you have like news releases or if people want to interview you for blogs. So I think it's really key. So if you're in the Virginia Beach area, or maybe
I travel.
You'll travel.
I'll come to D.C., Maryland. I lived in Baltimore for 12 years. I'm familiar with that area. And also, I think, this just might be me because I'm a very visual person, but I think having a good picture makes or breaks whether or not people are going to come to your truck. Because just from coming to your site,
trying to find you online, or they need something to identify with. And then maybe even, I think it's a good idea for the truck owners to take photos of themselves next to the truck. So I can say, oh, this is the person that owns this fashion truck. And so you relate the two together.
Yeah, because you're basically, you are your brand when you're driving a truck.
Right.
So people like to put a face with the business. But yeah, and just from going to the Find a Fashion Truck website, I kind of skip over the ones that don't have pictures. I like to go to the ones that have the pictures so I can imagine, what it's going to be like to shop there or what it's going to be like to walk in. And if it doesn't have a picture, it doesn't excite me as much. So any kind of picture is better than nothing, but a really good picture really sets you apart.
Absolutely.
So, Lakaye, do you have a mentor or somebody that you go to for business advice?
I have kind of a couple of virtual mentors. There's a couple of photographers that I've been following for a few years. Sue Bryce is a really big one. She is a glamour photographer who now lives in LA. And she's done a lot of classes on creativelive.com, which is a website for creative professionals, mainly photographers. So, and basically she has a business model of doing high-end glamour photography. So I started doing that for a little while, but I am seeing how some of her teachings can work for me, but I'm seeing how I can differentiate myself and set myself apart and put my own spin on it. And oddly enough, your very own Lakaye is one of my business mentors because she's the person I call boss. I don't have no boss, but Lakaye is my boss.
She's good at telling people what to do.
Wow, really?
I usually branded her as my life coach because she takes over everything.
But I wouldn't give her that title unless she knew what she was talking about. And so, I just appreciate your input all the time and your, desire to help me, even though sometimes I don't take your advice. But I try.
Hey, I need you to do this. This is what you got to do. No, I really appreciate that. It's so funny because, I'm like addicted to like learning and addicted to blogs. And like anytime I see anything that's related to like something that's like, with Astro at home decor or you at photography, I'm like, oh my God, I got to share this. They got to know about this. They've got to jump on this.
Right now.
Exactly. Yes, like they cannot wait. They cannot wait.
With links and invites to join or download an app. And I'm just like, oh my God. And okay, so back in the day, she would always harass me. You need to get off your butt. Stop being lazy. You're not hungry enough.
I'm just saying.
Do something with your life.
That's because she's always had 4 jobs. So anybody who has 1 or 2 is just lazy.
Right. And I always hated that saying, you're not hungry enough. Oh my God. It made me want to strangle her.
I love that saying because you have to have that hunger and that fire, to keep moving and to keep going. Because I remember when Lakaye was laid off for her job, and remember you were trying to make that decision. Should I just go back or try to find like a cubicle job and just work with some corporation, or should I go at this alone? It's because I believe in you guys.
Oh,
that sounds kind of phony, but let's go with it.
It is, but it's so funny. I went to the website that you were referring to, that Sue Bryce. Yeah, her photos are beautiful. I'll make sure to include her link in the show notes.
Oh man. Yeah, she is amazing, and I participated in this Facebook group that she started, and it has like 10,000 people who are members, but not everybody's active. But I've learned a lot. So I if she ever hears this, I'm so appreciative to Sue Bryce for her inspiration. But on a personal level, you are my mentor. You right here, both of you actually. Now you are too, Estrella. So there you go.
Thank you.
I'm gonna sing to you all.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Don't get Estrella started, please. This is dangerous.
I tried to get Nashay to let me sing the intro, and she's such a hater.
I'm like, no, we don't want to scare people away.
I was asked to be on Empire, and that's how good.
Really?
But I turned it down because I wanted to focus on
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God. So let's get back to reality. And I'm glad you mentioned Facebook groups, because I'm just going to throw out a plug here. We do have a new Facebook group, and I don't know, how many members does it have, Estrella, now? 95 maybe? So we just started out. It's called Let's Talk About Fashion Trucks. So if you want to interact with fashion truck and mobile boutique owners, definitely request to be added to the group, because it is private.
And it's also, the good thing about your Facebook group is that it's very active. Like, I've joined a lot of Facebook groups where people just join and then nothing happens. But your group is really active. People are asking questions. People are posting pictures. They're introducing themselves. And I think it's really going to take off.
Estrella is kind of like the magic behind that group.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like post stuff every once in a while. She's like, Nashay, post something.
So people know who you are.
But no, I think it's like a excellent resource. So people definitely join it and definitely stay active, because you learn like just random stuff. Like someone the other day like posted about how their truck is like over 10,000 pounds. And so I guess when it's over 10,000 pounds, you have to go through DOT or do some kind of special inspection. I'm not sure. I have to like read more about it. But the thing about it is, as new fashion truck owners are thinking about getting or purchasing a truck, now that's something that they could take into account. Do they want to deal with this extra hassle? Right. Yeah. Our next question for you is, how do you market your business like on social media? And then also kind of a follow-up to that too is, being a photographer, like how do you take advantage of photos, in order to get people to purchase your goods, or like your Facebook page, Twitter page, or what have you?
Facebook, well, I'll tell you the two platforms I use the most is Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is really good for people finding out about me, because I will send clients their purchase pictures and allow them to do whatever they want to, and they can tag them, and then as their likes start building, because I'm such a fantastic photographer, then people start contacting me and they find me that way. And then also Instagram, I'm trying to figure out the best way to leverage Instagram. I've tried, posting behind the scenes pictures. I'm trying to do more videos, and as long as you're consistent with it, it gets more popular. But what I'm finding is with both, the key is to try to get your own mailing list together, because Facebook changes every 5 minutes. Yes, so if you rely on them to do something, and then they change the way that you've been doing everything, you could lose your likes or whatever. So if you don't have your own email marketing list, you're kind of leaving yourself out there. So social media is important, but I think the key for business owners is to start collecting emails. So you can send out your own stuff and get to interact with your clients that way. But as for being a photographer, Instagram is really the way to go. Facebook is really cool. But the reason why I keep coming back to Facebook is they've changed something recently where not everybody sees everything on your business feed. Right. So whereas I was used to
algorithms so that it's like you may, like, if you look at the organic reach, you might have like 1,000 followers, but only 30 see the post.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
Exactly.
So they want you to pay to promote. It's a scam. So that's why I've been trying to like personally move away from Facebook, because I feel that Instagram is the way to go.
It is. It is. It takes consistency to build your client base. And the thing that I'm still working on is getting over my fear of annoying my followers. So I'm trying to, my previous thinking was not to post all the time because I would show up in their feed. And I followed some people who posted like every 30 minutes. I'm like, do you people work?
Oh, it's too much.
So I had to unfollow them because it was annoying. So I'm trying to walk that fine line, but I think I need to do more on Instagram to build my follower base and get more email subscribers. That's the key thing.
Yeah. Now, do you use Pinterest at all? According to Nashay, it's the go off y'all place to be.
Yes, that's on my shade list of things to do. I follow it personally. I've always been a fan of Pinterest, and at first I was like, I just want something for myself for once. Can I use any kind of social media that's not about business? So my Pinterest right now is 95% stuff that I like, So I'm moving over to the point where, Nashay has told me that I need to move over to the point where I'm posting more pictures, vertical pictures, so that people will, like them and all that stuff. So I do have a board that's just for my work. And some pictures are starting to get some notice. So I just have to be consistent with that too. I think social media can be so overwhelming. I think you just need to figure out what 2 or 3 is going to work the best for you and just go for it hardcore. I think that's the thing you can do. Because there's so many things. Snapchat, Vimeo, stuff I never even heard of.
Yeah, I can't keep
that. It's too much. I completely agree with you about Pinterest. I can't stress enough to any business out there, like, if you do Pinterest right, it could bring so many hits to your website. For my Tall Look website, it literally a day, like, almost by 400% increased the number of traffic that I've been getting in. And it's only because 3-4 of my pins were picked up. And so now every day consistently, I get a ton of traffic from Pinterest, which really helped me out because after Google changed their algorithm, I wasn't getting as much traffic to my site anymore. So, the tips that you gave, that you had mentioned about having images that are vertical and, making sure that they are high quality, if you put a little love into Pinterest, it'll love you back. You like that? Okay.
That's nice.
I'm going to make that a pin.
Right.
But you also said something else that I think is really key. Like, we've set it up on all of our personal sites, like, with Find a Fashion Truck, Start a Fashion Truck, Astrell's personal site, astrellrouse.com, talllook.com. They all collect emails. Like, that's kind of the priority of that site now, because I've even heard it from like really kind of successful entrepreneurs out there that is the key, because with social media, you just never know who's looking at what, and everything is changing. And at a moment's notice, you could lose all of your followers, or for some reason, an algorithm can change. And for example, on Facebook, and your content now is not being seen by the people who are even following you. So, but when you have email, you can control the type of people, you can control like the content that they see and make sure that it's like going to your audience, which is pretty cool.
Right.
But, with that, any tips for photography? So I'm kind of a Pinterest junkie and I only pin really quality photos. And sometimes there are things that I want to pin, but I'm like, the lighting isn't quite right. So for people who are even taking like photos with their phone, do you have any like photography tips for them, like things they should keep in mind when they're taking pictures?
Yes, the number one thing that people need to understand about photography is that it's all about light. So if you have poor light, then your picture is never going to come out well, no matter what kind of camera you have.
Should the light be in front of you, above you, or behind you?
Well, it depends on what you're taking pictures of, but that's a very good question. In general, like say if you are taking pictures of products or whatever, I would, number one, find a room that has lots of natural light coming in and make sure you take your pictures during the day. That's number one, because if you try to wait and take the pictures at night or when the sun is setting or in a dark room and you're relying on overhead lights that are a little bit yellow, and then it's going to make your picture grainy. It's going to make your camera take the picture too slow, so it's going to make it blurry. So that's number one. You take the picture near bright light near a window. Number two, you're right, Estrella, that you need to put the light at your back as long as you're not casting a shadow or a weird shadow on your object or whatever you're taking pictures of. So the reason why the light is at your back, and these are gross what's the word?
Generalizations?
Yes. That one.
So keeping that in there.
That's fine. Anyway, so you want the light at your back so that you have frontal lighting on your subject, your object, or whatever. Because with cell phone pictures, if you try to have the person stand with their back to the sun, then they're going to go into silhouette no matter what you do. And you can't overcome that unless you have professional gear with flashes and all that stuff. The only thing is, if you're taking pictures of people, they might be squinting in the sun. So you have to be creative with, sunglasses or looking away from the camera. But yeah, you're right. Put the light to your back. But the most important thing is, do not try to take your pictures at night in bad light. So if you're going to take pictures of your truck, take them first thing in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, or 2 hours before sunset. That's called the golden hour. And you'll have nice, pretty lighting, maybe a nice sunset behind you or sunrise, depending on what side of the country you're on. Don't take it at like high noon, where the shadows are going to be so overwhelming that it's going to negatively affect your pictures. Yeah. What else? Oh, also, in addition to taking like full pictures of your truck, you might want to do like detail shots as well. So if there's something that sets your truck apart, maybe a cool logo or something that you've done to hype up your truck that's going to set it apart from everybody else, I would take detail shots of that too.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you're using your truck for social media purposes and you take it from far away to get the entire truck, by the time you put it in that tiny little square or wherever it's going to be very, very small. Mm-hmm. But if you have detail shots or something that looks really cool, when you blow it up in that square that's going on Instagram or whatever, you'll see more of it. Or you can take the front part of the truck, or if your back door is really cool. But if you try to back up and get everything, and you should, of course, get at least, a few good pictures from every angle of your truck. But I really think for social media purposes, getting in there and getting some cool stuff in there would be good. Also, try to take angles that are unexpected. That'll make it look a little bit more professional if you're trying to do this yourself. So instead of just standing up and taking a picture straight on, maybe get down on the ground and, see what kind of cool angle you can get that way. Or if you can get taller than your truck, maybe you have a ladder and there's something cool on top of your truck. Try to think of unusual angles that people are not going to see. That's what sets apart a professional looking picture from a regular looking picture. If you were just to take all your pictures from eye level, your picture looks just like a picture somebody else would take. But if you're down on the ground taking it from ant view, it's going to make your truck look cooler. Is that, I mean, cooler? Is that good enough? It's gonna make it look more acceptable.
That works.
Yeah. And then too, I throw in there, like, please you always make sure your pictures are in focus
Well,
because, go ahead.
part of that is going to be solved with having good light. Because if you're in poor lighting situations, then your camera doesn't have anything to focus on. But if you're taking your pictures outside in bright light, then the stuff that's happening behind the scenes with your camera, such as focusing and getting a fast shutter speed, that's not going to be an issue. It's only an issue if you're taking pictures in bad light. You understand what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Another key thing is staging. Like that, me, in, what I do, interior decorating, and it still applies in other business aspects. Like if you're taking pictures of your truck, you have to make sure that your background looks good as well. If you're taking product shots, you have to stage them so that they look enticing to your customers or your potential customers.
And it should be appropriate to your brand too. So, and if your brand is clean and minimal, then sure, take all your pictures on a white background. But let's say you have an earthy vibe or a vintage vibe. I don't see any problem with taking like a really cool piece of fabric that doesn't compete with what you're trying to take pictures with, and putting your items on that, as long as it covers the entire surface of what you're taking pictures of. Or like a piece of wood, if you have an earthy vibe. I think those pictures stand out in people's minds a little bit more than just the plain white backgrounds, in my opinion, because I think that's part of your brand, to have that wood or that texture. Or if you're trying to go for luxury, maybe you have, I don't know, what's luxurious, Estrella? Fur? I don't know. I don't know what's luxurious.
She is kind of high maintenance.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
Yeah, because when I think of some of the stuff that you produce, Nashay, I think of warmth and the green tones, because I know green is your favorite color, so it ends up in every picture somehow. Or some kind of textured placemat. I could just see that you take your pictures like that and it's consistent over time. So I
always uses like you use like the dining room table, I think, Nashay, because it's always a wood type of background for your stuff.
Right. Yeah, because I love anything earthy, even though my favorite color is green. So if I can put green in it, it will be in it. But but I love the texture of the dining room table. So usually, just like you suggested, early in the morning, I'll open all the windows and then I'll just make sure that the background for all my products are, on that table to give it like a consistent look and feel.
Right. So what I'm saying is I don't think everybody should automatically hop to a white background, because I don't think that works for everybody's brand. Some people it does. You can even take some stuff outside. Let's say you buy a placemat or a tablecloth or something. You don't have enough light inside, and now that it's starting to warm up, you could definitely take it outside and get all the natural light coming in. And I think that would be a good solution too. And the other cool thing about that, if you take it outside and lay the mat on the ground, then you can have an aerial type shot if you're standing above it and getting some different views of it that way. Oh, yeah.
It's like really getting creative, but I guess just making sure that you have consistency with your shots. Because like there's like some trucks out there and they have like beautiful photography and it's always like street photography, but then you kind of like know their style. It's street photography, like their products where their trucks are taken, where they take a picture of their truck. But I feel like you have to figure out like what's good for your brand and kind of stick with that. And then you kind of become known for it. No, those are excellent tips. Well, we're coming on, I guess, like the second half, I guess, of the podcast. So if anyone needs to take a break, this is a great time to pause now. But let's find out a little bit more about you, Lakaye. We've talked about like some of the amazing things that you've done as far as, just how you started off with, proms and basketball games, and then eventually got into weddings and then portraits. But what are some of the hurdles that you had to overcome? Because I'm sure, this wasn't just a smooth ride and everything just didn't.
Yeah, it was smooth. It was easy. I've never done anything so easy in my life.
But what, are there any kind of lessons learned from just owning a small business that you want to talk about?
I've had a lot of setbacks and hurdles, we'll call them. Like I mentioned earlier, I was laid off from my job. I had a really cool job. I was working at a local magazine in Baltimore. And I was doing some photography stuff there, but I got laid off from that. So I think all of those hurdles are defining moments. You always have a choice in life. Everyone, no matter what stage in your life you are, you always have a choice when you wake up in the morning to either go on the same path or change it radically. So when I got laid off, Nashay, it was probably your fault that I didn't go back to corporate America. No, you don't need a job.
Who needs a job?
You told her that?
No.
I just thought she was extremely talented, and that if there was any time, that was the time for her to go at it alone and see if she could start her own business.
No, but I appreciate it. I completely, because now looking back, and even with all of the hurdles and challenges I faced, I wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way. And because I did start my business at that time, actually the weddings picked up rather quickly. But I was able to stay home with my daughter. That was really, I didn't know at the time I was going to have a daughter. But that made it possible for me to, I've always had in the back of my mind, I wanted to stay home. I didn't want to, go back to work 6 weeks afterwards and then work day to night and never see my kid. So for every setback, there's been some way to overcome it. And I think everything has made me stronger. So losing a job, I had to move and restart my business in another city. I've changed from weddings to focusing on portraits, which doesn't sound like a big leap, but it really is, because you have to commit to whatever you're doing. So I took all the weddings off of my website. I mean, I still do weddings if somebody calls me. Oh, actually, I still do weddings with my partner in Baltimore, Tiffany. We still have a website together, but if it's not coming out of Baltimore, I'm not going to promote it, What was the question? I got some hurdles.
It was just the hurdles and how you overcame them. So you've touched on several, like, the move from Baltimore to Virginia Beach, and then also like moving from focusing on weddings to portraits. And it's just how you overcame them. Yeah.
The only thing, the important thing when you become a business owner is that you have to have so much a burning desire to do this, because nothing is easy about owning your own business. But I cannot see doing it any other way. So I cannot. I thought about it. I got knocked down a couple of times, and I sat down and I said, well, if I'm not going to do photography, what am I going to do? And I couldn't think of a single thing that I want to do.
Right.
I couldn't. So if you have that, that would you say Estrella needed to have? She didn't have that fire, that burning.
She was
that hunger.
Hunger. Yes, I have a hunger to be successful doing photography. So, and I've had that for a long time, and I think that's what's carrying me through. So even though I've been knocked down a few times, that hunger, that drive, and plus I'm obsessed with photography, so I can't stop even if I wanted to. I can't stop, even if I wanted to.
I don't think you should stop. I mean, and I have to, even though she's not promoting photography, wedding photography, I have to put a plug in for her because I was kind of like the first round of weddings you did. And
Yes.
yeah,
I didn't know if you were going to mention that or not.
Wait, you did Lakaye's wedding?
Yeah, I did Shay's wedding.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was that's what I'm saying. Lakaye is my boss. She's had faith in me for so many years. Yeah.
Because it was I think it was the year that you got laid off. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, why don't you could do my wedding. If
But
you're willing to travel.
She had a hard time after that wedding, so don't make it sound all, whew, she cracked that whip. Oh my goodness. And that was the beginning of end for weddings for me.
Oh, that like ruined it.
You broke her in the shot.
The pictures came out awesome. I've made like a little soda, like a pillow for me to put like our wedding album on. The album is gorgeous. So that's okay. I got mine in.
Oh boy.
So, Lakaye, do you have any other business ventures that you are trying to get into right now that includes your photography or otherwise?
Actually, I'm working on 2 major projects right now. Interestingly enough, one of my goals for the end of the year is to have my own truck and travel around the country taking pictures, mostly headshots, because I think that lends itself to the truck industry. But I'm really excited about that, and that's why I'm so happy to have found your website. I mean, I know you guys anyway, but I think your website and your Facebook group is really awesome because as I'm putting together my own truck, I think it's going to be very beneficial. So right now I'm testing some markets and I'm working with some local businesses like hair salons and barbershops to see, to gauge the interest in having a product like that where I come on location and I take their pictures. So I mentioned before I'm mainly interested in doing more portraits. So I think headshots lends itself more to what I'm good at and what I feel like I can excel with. But in addition to that, it's been about a year. I started a magazine. It's called Reset Your Crown, and it's a natural hair and health and fashion magazine. I started it with she's kind of my sister-in-law. Kind of. She's Maya's aunt, my daughter's aunt. And it's an online magazine. It's free. And basically, I enjoy taking the pictures. I have to check and see if I read any of my own articles. I'm such a picture person. Wow. I'm pretty sure I've read all the articles, but the pictures look great, guys. Just check it out.
So moving, okay, I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit back to essentially what it would be is a photography mobile boutique. Do you plan to implement any type of retail items within the boutique, like frames, or maybe if somebody wanted photos on apparel, like T-shirts or, anything like that? Are you planning on implementing items like that
now?
Oh, so I just gave you an idea, huh?
You absolutely did.
Because I think that would be kind of cool, like especially if you're dealing with like graduation photos or anything like that. Somebody might want something really quick to be printed out on the spot and then put it in a frame as a gift or just anything. You have to kind of think outside of the box for things that customers might want, like right then and there, as a way to get some additional income.
The only thing I'm going to be careful about as I'm developing, this is very much in its infancy, and I'm just testing a lot of stuff, but I don't want to invest in lots of additional gear that I'm not sure I'm going to use afterwards. So what I mean, like, I don't know if I'm going to buy like a T-shirt press to do T-shirts on the spot because I don't know if it's going to be worth it for what I want to do. So I'm trying to make it a little bit more boutique-y and less I don't know, less mall cart, I guess you could say. But I like the idea of having, frames available and framed samples, something that lends itself a little bit more to I'm really going to have to give this some thought. That was good. My mom sells jewelry, and I was thinking about putting some of her jewelry on the truck just as, because I style people in her jewelry sometimes when I'm taking pictures.
And that's a good idea. And, just additional props or things like that. But, because if it were me, I would want to, even if I was not getting the photos right then and there, I would want some options as to how I can display them if I got prints. So having, frame samples available would be a nice idea.
I like that idea. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and the trick, though, is, too, because you need, a large amount of that space for the studio, figuring out, how you can do it without you having to do a lot of work where you are moving stuff to take pictures and then moving stuff back for people to shop. You'll have to, figure it out because it depends on, I think, how big your truck is.
Right. Exactly. And I've done some research. There's a couple of other really cool photo trucks. There's one in LA that's doing a really good job, and I've seen how they have theirs laid out, and I can see how mine will be different and how I'm going to adjust it to fit what I'm going to do. But I know one of the plans I'm going to have is to have a Velcro wall.
Oh, smart.
So, and I actually saw this at one of the photo conferences that I went to. One of my favorite vendors, Custom Color, had this, just their whole wall was Velcro. So all of their samples, they just had, Velcro on it so they could take it and put it in different configurations. So I know for sure that's what I'm going to do. So they also, in mentioning that, they also had their frame samples displayed on the wall like that. So you could take them down, the customers could look at them and all that, and you could keep them out of the way and keep from having to store stuff in drawers. So I'm still trying to figure out a lot of it. And for instance, my market will change depending on where I'm going, a concert or something like that versus going to a hair salon or something like that where I can take my time and get them a more quality product. So I might have two different customer bases. I might have to develop two different product lines to go with either one. Great. You guys are giving me more work to do. Thanks a lot.
Now I'm excited about it. I think that, I don't know. I think there's so much opportunity in a photo truck and it's so unique. And when we think of fashion trucks, most people think of either, clothing or accessories, sometimes handmade goods, but it could be about anything photography. Estro just posted a feature truck Friday, which was a makeup truck. So I'm really excited, to see kind of what happens in this truck industry. It's move over food trucks. Here comes fashion trucks and they're coming in all shapes and forms. So I'm really excited.
I mean, I could even possibly put a spin on fashion truck being fashion photography, as opposed to selling the goods. My fashion truck is literally about fashion photos.
And I really could see it at events too, because I feel like the last couple of years, what's gotten really big are, what do they call it? Photo booths and huge, any kind of event. It just doesn't have to be weddings, but it could be bar mitzvahs or, anything, birthday events.
A photo booth at the Renegade Craft Fair that I went to a couple months ago. And I was surprised. Yeah. They had a little box of props next to the photo booth, if you wanted to put on a boa or a hat or bunny ears or whatever. People were lined up for that.
Yeah. Did they have a fee?
I think it might have been free. It might have been free.
But I've seen it. But it was probably free because the Renegade paid for it. Right. So there's a set fee. But the thing is, I've seen also photo booths where it's operated by a person and you have to pay a fee before you go in there, and then what you get back is maybe like just an email of like a digital copy, low res copy of the photo you've just taken.
And that's kind of where I was leaning as far as like festivals were concerned.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what I don't want to see from you is like you being the creepy guy at the parties or lounges. Hey, can I take your photo?
Oh, I'm already totally creepy guy.
You want your photo taken?
Oh my gosh. And let me tell you something about whenever you start a business, your family members will always try to talk you into doing some crazy stuff that you have no desire to do. Meaning, my mom always wants me to take like club pictures and go set up a background somewhere and print the pictures on the spot.
The cityscape background, and then you have people doing jail poses. And
it's so not me. It's so not me. So another piece of advice, stick to what you want to do so that you can put your heart into it. So yeah, I've been the creepy person at, people will, just come on over to my background, take a couple pictures. Yeah. Okay.
Stick to what's good for your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just kind of like, I think that's excellent. Like the fashion truck, and I love your magazine. So serious people, if you get a second, definitely check out Reset Your Crown, because it's some beautiful photos, fashion photos, like all kind of photos. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think the first thing I did was just scan through the photos too, and then I kind of read some stuff.
Kind of.
Yeah,
but I love the photos. They're gorgeous.
And the magazine, I have to mention it, or else I'm going to get in trouble. The magazine is really a team effort. It's not, that part is not just me. I came up with the idea, but Dominique writes the article. She's also a fantastic stylist. So most of the stuff where people have on these outrageous outfits or have these wild hairstyles, she's done all that behind the scenes. I have a young lady I'm working with in Atlanta who writes all the advice columns for how to do your hair and all that. Her name is Neka Otim. And Yetunde Rodriguez, she used to be Afro Martha, but she changed it. So I think it's just yetunderodriguez.com. But she does all of these really cool how-tos. And Estrelle writes for me too. Yay! So that's really a collaboration. So I don't want anybody to think I'm just, doing all this by myself. Not that part anyway. So
absolutely. And I'll make sure to include a link to Reset Your Crown in the show notes, and any of the other collaborators, I'll make sure to have a link to their websites in there also.
Great. Perfect.
So moving on, Lakaye, in your opinion, what's the most important skill or talent required to be a successful entrepreneur?
If you had asked me this 5 years ago, I would have said you have to be a great photographer, but that is not it. You have to be a business person. You have to know your marketing inside and out. It's all about marketing. It's like my time is 10% taking pictures, 40%, 40% marketing, and the rest of the time is spent editing. So you have to be smart about business. Marketing first and foremost, because if you're not doing creative things to reach out to your client base, you're not going to have the income coming in the first place. So you can be the best photographer in the world, but if nobody knows about you, then you're still broke. You know? And I say I spend a lot of time editing, but that's also a part of the business end as well, because at some point you have to make a decision, and I've recently done this, to hand over your editing to someone else so that you can spend more time marketing to bring in more clients. So,
but if you don't personally edit, like how do you, because you have prior projects that you've used to build your brand, how do you hand off that trust to somebody else to be able to live up to or match what you've previously done?
Oh, well, as far as the editing is concerned, I actually train someone to do the things that I like to have done, but I don't hand off my creative edits. It's other stuff that has to be edited. Like, let's say you're taking pictures of women are very hard on themselves, right? We all know this. So maybe there's spot removals, acne, lumps and bumps that need to be smoothed out. That kind of stuff anybody can do as long as they do a good job of it. Mm-hmm. But the creative edits, the coloring, the way it's cropped, which picture out of a series of 5 is the best one out of the 5, that kind of stuff I'm going to continue to do because that is more a part of my brand, not removing blemishes and fixing eyebrows. That's not a part of my brand. That's just making your picture look good. Gotcha. So I feel comfortable handing off that other stuff, but the coloring, the toning, all that stuff is going to be on me.
Okay.
No, that's awesome. And so we're going to end with 3 kind of rapid fire questions. So don't put too much thought in it, but just kind of tell us the first thing that comes to mind. What are some of your favorite inspirational blogs? And of course, you mentioned the Sue Bryce, but any others?
I'm a Creative Live junkie, so it's creativelive.com. I stay on it all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. And what do you do to de-stress and wind down? So what do you do in your free time?
Yeah, I saw that question. I was like, de-stress? I don't know if I've ever done that recently. I listen to...
Most business owners don't.
Right. And I also have a 3-year-old. So, like, what? What do I do? I take pictures. Working is less stressful than being home with the 3-year-old. No, I listen to music and I'm a festival junkie. I love festivals. When it warms up, that's the thing I do. I sit in the middle of a crowd and I people watch, and that's how I de-stress. Oh, and the beach.
And lastly, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?
This question stresses me out. I need to de-stress after this question.
Money's no object. You could go anywhere in the world. Like, you could do anything you want. What would you attempt to do?
I really think that I would move to a metropolitan area and start my business somewhere really cool, like New York or LA or Miami. That's really what I would do. Maybe Atlanta, maybe. But if I knew I couldn't fail, if I knew I could have a penthouse photography studio, people coming in working for Essence and Elle and Marie Claire, all those other places. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Where can we find you, Lakaye?
On Instagram, I'm at Lakaye Mbah Photo. My Facebook fan page is, I think it's Photography by Lakaye. Yes, it is. My website is www.lakayeumbah.com. You might have to spell that for the people. My magazine is resetyourcrown.com. And also the Instagram for that magazine is at Reset Your Crown. Am I missing anything? Oh, and also, if you're interested in having me do a wedding, I have a website with my business partner, Tiffany, and that is lakiffany.com. And it's a combination of our names.
Lakiffany.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that is for Baltimore and D.C.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely. We'll make sure that all of those links are on the show notes. And thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do this interview with us. This
has been awesome.
Wow, that was an awesome episode with Lakaye. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. It's funny, I've known her for years, but I've actually learned some other facts about her. So I'm glad we were able to pick her brain and that she felt comfortable enough to just open up about her journey and her passion. So I don't know, I feel inspired.
Absolutely. And the tips that she gave, I believe that pretty much anybody can implement them into their own business. I know I can, and I plan to do it for my blog, estrellrouse.com. I could really use some tips, and I think Lakaye is my go-to person for all of that.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to rate us on iTunes to help us get to the news and noteworthy. Also, remember that you can listen to this episode on startafashiontruck.com. We also have a place where you can sign up for our newsletters. If you want to take a look at the show notes for this episode to get any links that we've mentioned, please type in Lakaye into the search box, Lakaye. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Bye.